Did I like the movie? Parts of it. Parts of it. There's stretches that it's really good. But I think it's really hard to love this movie. But you gotta admire its ambition. It's really ballsy, and it doesn't really care if you have no idea what's going on. It just kind of keeps going forward. So why don't we start by talking about the good things? Great place to start, Rorschach. He is perfectly represented on the screen, even though he does go to the same superhero voice school as Batman. He growls a lot, but still, he's complex and ferocious, and I'm sure there's going to be a gabillion Halloween costumes. In fact, most of the actors nail their counterparts, with the exception of Ozymandias and Silk Spectre. With Ozymandias, it's weird because he has this slight accent that kind of goes in and out that he uses, and it's more distracting than anything. It's just kind of weird. And then with Silk Spectre, I don't know, Malin Ackerman just doesn't really nail the emotion of some of her scenes, and it seems like everybody else is their character, and she feels like she's playing her character. It's also amazing what they crammed into this movie. 12 comic book issues are jammed into 2.5 hours, and there's an undeniable scope and detail to it. You can't help but be impressed. Every frame feels like it was lifted straight from the book, mostly because it was. It's extremely faithful, and Die Hard should have nothing to complain about in that department. Seriously, they get so much right for the hardcore fans, they alienated everyone else in the audience. Alright, now let's talk about what just didn't work for me in this movie. The first and the most obvious is the music. It's so on the nose that it's cringeworthy. There's a scene in particular where Ozymandias is talking to Lee Iacocca about greed and energy and all this stuff, and in the background, the elevator music playing is Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Yeah. Now, some of the music, like All Along the Watchtower, it's actually in the graphic novel, but that doesn't excuse it from being just so obvious. Ugh, it's like, at times, there's a guy sitting in the audience next to you, nudging you, just saying like, get it? Yeah, the times they are changing. Get it? The other thing is the violence. It is ultra, ultra violent. And normally I don't have a problem with that, but these are supposed to be normal people. And when they start doing ridiculous things, like punching through walls and not being hurt, it kind of ruins the world they're trying to set up for you. And it almost feels like they're looking at it like, alright, look, even if people aren't understanding what's happening in this movie, let's just add some broken bones and some cleaved heads and all this stuff, and you know, it'll give them something fun to look at. I also need to talk about the length. This movie is 2.5+ hours long, almost as long as The Dark Knight. Around the 2-hour mark, it starts to cripple under its own weight. I don't know why they didn't just make this 2 different movies. They could have totally spread out this story and actually gotten into it even more, and explain more things like when the comedian tries to rape a woman, but then later she actually has sex with him and has a baby, how that makes sense to the audience, how they can actually see how this woman would forgive him for that. That kind of stuff just doesn't work in a 2.5-hour movie. Another thing is, like, if they are so faithful to this book, to a fault, why not just drop a squid in New York? What's the big stretch there? I don't quite understand it. I mean, they were so faithful that, like, Bubastis is in this. Ozymandias' like genetic tiger thing. It's in the movie, and it's not explained at all. And without the squid, then that makes even less sense. It's like, what the hell is this thing doing in here? And you could hear audibly people in the audience are like, what the hell is that thing? Why has he got a little tiger with some, you know, horns on it? But I think I figured out the whole dilemma of the Watchmen. I don't think people have really talked about it that much. It is a self-contained 12-issue series, right? So you look at that series as the Bible. This is the Watchmen Bible. There is nothing else except for these 12 issues. And that really boxes you into a corner when you're making the movie, because all you have are these 12 issues, and you feel like you have to be slavishly faithful to the material. Whereas something like Spider-Man, X-Men, Iron Man, they've got like 40 years of history and stories. And aside from like the origin story, you can pick and choose what you want to be in the movie, and fans aren't really going to be upset. Maybe by like, you know, the 3rd movie, they're saying like, yeah, we want to see Venom. Watchmen has that problem, and it really suffers from it because it's a difficult thing for people to swallow. You can feel those restrictions when you watch it. It's a movie for hardcore fans of a detached, cold, alternate universe. It's extremely ambitious and does move the comic book genre forward in a powerful new direction, but ultimately, it's better as a graphic novel.